Picture this. It's 2:17 in the morning. The house is completely quiet. A teenager wakes up for just a second, reaches out to the nightstand, and grabs that glowing phone. And there might not even be an important notification waiting. But that quick, sudden blast of blue light, it instantly suppresses their melatonin production, literally tricking the brain into thinking it's daytime. Suddenly, one message leads to another, they check a group chat, maybe glance at a game result, or scroll a social media update. 10 minutes go by before the phone is finally put down. Now, they might not even describe this as a sleep problem. To them, it just feels like a quick check. But this tiny, seemingly harmless action entirely fragments their sleep and creates a persistent pattern where every single awakening becomes an automatic cue to reconnect.
Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's dive into this because today we're looking at the invisible mechanics at play when your child reaches for their device in the middle of the night. We're going to pull apart the habit cues, the social expectations, that intense fear of missing out, and the simple reality of easy bedroom access. Because really understanding this, it isn't about blaming a teenager for having weak willpower. It's about understanding the environment that creates the behavior and, more importantly, how we can fix it together.
Section 1. The 2 a.m. habit, and why it's more than just defiance.
So, to really tackle this issue, we first have to recognize that reaching for a phone in the dark is rarely an act of simple rebellion. It's actually an automatic sequence. You see, habits form and become incredibly sticky when the exact same cue, action, and reward happen over and over. The cue might just be waking naturally during the night, or hearing a faint vibration, or seeing a light. The action is that totally automatic reach for the phone. And the reward? Well, it's powerful stuff. Social information, novelty, a sense of relief, entertainment, or just the reassurance that nothing major was missed. This whole loop happens with almost zero conscious planning. A child can genuinely intend to sleep through the whole night, yet still reach out on autopilot the second that cue hits.
Section 2. More than just willpower. Changing the environment.
We really need to shift our perspective away from just telling kids to try harder or use more self-control, because honestly that ignores the powerful forces at work here. And this brilliantly illustrates why relying on self-control at 2 in the morning is a failing strategy for everyone. Think about it. You are asking a half-awake, exhausted brain to fight against a highly rewarding, heavily ingrained habit loop. The successful strategy isn't about willpower at all. It is entirely about designing and changing the bedtime environment long before the child ever goes to sleep.
We've also got to build some empathy here. For adolescents, a smartphone is not just a piece of technology. It is the absolute epicenter of their friendships, their group identity, and their social status. They lie there worrying. What if the group chat changes while I'm asleep? What if I miss a joke, or a rumor, or an argument? As this quote highlights, what if people see that I did not respond? The social world of a teenager simply does not sleep. These concerns might feel kind of exaggerated to us adults, but they are incredibly real and socially meaningful to them. Any plan that actually works has to respect that deep need for connection.
So, how do we actually change the environment? Well, we use what's called the friction principle. A phone sitting right on the nightstand requires absolutely zero effort to check. But a phone charging outside the bedroom, that requires the child to get up, physically leave the room, and make a highly deliberate, conscious decision to look at it. By simply adding distance, we introduce friction. And that friction is exactly what interrupts the automatic habit of grabbing the device. You basically make the unwanted action way harder, and the preferred action, rolling over and going back to sleep, much, much easier.
Section 3. The 5-part nighttime plan.
Now that we understand the psychology behind this, here is a proactive, 5-part strategy to help families protect sleep. We're going to change where the phone lives, manage its alerts, close the social loop, prepare for inevitable wake-ups, and review the evidence. Let's move to and see how this builds into an actionable, cohesive plan that you can literally start using tonight. Steps 1 and 2 form our physical foundation. First up, create an outside bedroom charging station. Pick one predictable spot that gets used every single night. Oh, and a quick tip from the source material, when practical, adults should totally model this behavior and follow a similar rule. Second, activate Do Not Disturb before the device is even put away. You can definitely allow emergency contacts through, but you've got to silence the ordinary notifications, the group chats, the games, the app alerts. This cuts down on actual physical interruptions and stops the child from just lying there awake, anticipating a message.
Step 3 is arguably the biggest game changer for a teenager's anxiety. Close the social loop. Have the child send a brief final message to their friends before plugging the phone in, something as simple as, "Hey, I'm going offline for the night." Sending this one little message teaches their peers that an immediate 2 a.m. response is simply not expected. It sets a clear boundary and drastically reduces that intense fear of missing out.
Step 4 requires just a bit of prep. Create a plan for nighttime waking.
We know they are still going to wake up sometimes, right? So instead of reaching for a phone, give them a low-stimulation alternative that's super easy to remember when they're half asleep. They can just remain in bed, focus on taking slow, deep breaths, drink some water, or check the time on a dim, non-phone alarm clock. Give the brain a boring, soothing task instead of a digital hit. Believe me, counting slow breaths is way less exciting than scrolling feeds, which is exactly why it helps put them back to sleep.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that step 5 is all about data collection, not punishment. Review the morning evidence. In the morning, casually ask a few questions. Was the phone checked? If it was, what triggered the urge? Did they feel like returning to sleep was easier without the phone right there in the room? Did they feel a bit more rested? You use this information together to tweak the environment, not to shame the child for slipping up.
Section 4. Collaboration over confiscation.
Listen, how you roll this plan out is just as important as the plan itself. If you storm in at night and snatch the phone away without any discussion, you're engaging in secret confiscation. And honestly, this almost always backfires. It creates anger, secrecy, totally unnecessary power struggles, and might just result in the teenager finding a secret second device just out of spite. Instead, opt for daytime collaboration. Sit down during the day when everyone is rested and calm and just discuss the problem. This improves mutual understanding and safely protects their sleep without turning your house into a battleground.
If you're not quite sure how to kick off that daytime conversation, use this specific framing. We are not taking away your social life. We are protecting the hours when your body needs uninterrupted sleep. This respectful language shows that you are intervening for their health and well-being. It focuses the entire conversation on environmental design, making it crystal clear that this is not a punishment for bad behavior.
Section 5. Beyond the screen. Addressing underlying issues.
Let's zoom out for a second. It is incredibly important to remember that the phone isn't always the root cause of the waking. Here's a vital question every parent needs to ask. Are you waking because of the phone or checking the phone because you are already awake? Sometimes a kid grabs their device simply because sleeping is already difficult for other reasons and the phone just happens to be the most stimulating thing nearby to pass the time.
So, the crucial point is that we really have to look for underlying issues. Persistent awakenings could be driven by psychological factors like anxiety, nightmares, or loneliness. There could be physical issues at play, pain, breathing problems, or even sleep apnea. Or it could just be environmental, like highly irregular sleep schedules. Removing the phone completely reduces the nighttime stimulation, for sure, but it doesn't cure a deeper condition. If your child has persistent sleep difficulties even after removing the device, it's definitely time to seek out appropriately qualified healthcare support.
Now, of course, there are definitely times when a phone is genuinely needed for safety, medical communication, or maybe contacting a separated caregiver. The solution here isn't total confiscation. You can easily adapt the plan. Keep the device all the way across the room to maintain that friction. Heavily utilize Do Not Disturb with really tight emergency exceptions. Swap in a basic alarm clock so the phone isn't needed for waking up, or temporarily use a much simpler device for overnight contact. The ultimate goal is to preserve genuine necessary access without preserving the constant digital stimulation.
To put all of this into practice, the source material highly recommends trying the 7-day night checking experiment. For just one single week, implement this basic plan. Charge the phone outside the room, flip on Do Not Disturb, send that final offline message, and prep the waking plan. And then, simply observe. Did the extra distance reduce the automatic checking? Were the emergency settings perfectly adequate? Did those intense social expectations decrease? You're basically playing scientist here, trying to discover the pattern without turning your home into a surveillance state.
Which brings us to a really powerful question to leave you with. Are we actually giving our children permission to be unavailable? You see, when a child checks their phone at 2 a.m., it's not a sign to demand more willpower from them. It is a sign that their environment desperately needs adjusting. We have to teach them that sleep does not require permanent availability. The phone can wait. The group chat can absolutely wait. True rest is a right, and they are more than allowed to be completely offline, unreachable, and resting.